We're live. Hello, Daniel. How are you?
Good, my friend. How about yourself?
Yeah, everything's great. So, thank you very much for joining this conversation. Thank you very much for having the time to share your knowledge, your experience, and yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for all the content that you've shared via LinkedIn.
Of course.
Um,
Thank you for inviting me.
yeah, sure. I mean, uh, let me check something. Yeah, here we are. So, um, yeah, yes. Just for context to the people who are joining this streaming, this webcast, Daniel is a PM with more than 20 years of experience on different knowledge areas, different industries, and we're here to talk about not the shiny certifications, not the happy path, but the things
Yeah.
that yeah, the lessons that you learn when things go sideways. So, Daniel, can you talk about briefly about your experience, this 20 plus years of, PM craziness on your side? So,
Sure, absolutely. And this, I'm glad that you reached out to me about this because obviously, if for anyone who pays attention to the stuff that I post on LinkedIn, just I just feel like we're such a place in the project management profession with AI here, and we have all these certifications and all this great process, and all these we have pretty much everything we need, but there's still something missing, right? Project success rates aren't where they're supposed to be. They don't seem to be moving much. And about a year and a half ago, I decided to try to change the conversation a little bit, or at least start to see if there was anyone else kind of seeing what I was seeing, right? And which has been my journey the last 17 months on LinkedIn, at least. Really trying to hone in on not the shiny stuff, not the stuff that you read in a book, which is great, and certification stuff, but at the end of the day, how to really truly manage or lead a project in an environment that most of the time is insane, even if it's not. At the very least, you have competing priorities, different teams, different clients, and everyone wants something different. And of course, your job at the end of the day is to make it all happen the best as possible, and of course, hit the iron triangle. But really, to make sure that along the way, you're dealing with people, elevating people, protecting your team, and all the things that come with really leading a project. And again, just trying to elevate those conversations on LinkedIn and other places like here.
yeah, that makes absolutely sense because definitely the lessons that you learn by putting your skin on the game
Yeah,
are really more the most valuable lessons. I mean, you can put your certifications, your all the books that you've read, but definitely the scars
yeah,
are the yeah,
yeah,
the scars are the things that, from my point of view, adds value to the project and adds value as you as as a PM and something that you need to do when you join certain project or when you join certain communication, so
absolutely.
certain initiatives or projects or whatever, right? Um, and this is something that I've noticed on the LinkedIn community or the LinkedIn content. And I would say that from that trend of content related to my perfect path, my 10 steps to
Yeah,
my 10 steps to achieve a perfect project manager, to achieve a project success or
yeah.
whatever. My 5 lessons that I learned from walking my dog through the park and
That's what it feels like on a lot of days on LinkedIn.
But really, your content and your approach is I really like it because you openly discuss setbacks, right?
Yeah,
In a world obsessed with the perfect delivery, um, beyond all the all your knowledge, your skills, your experience, what motivates you to be so transparent, to show that human side of project management, yeah, and the setbacks and the things that didn't go well.
yeah. No, and again, it's been a very interesting ride for the last 17 or so months. Again, I'm 51 years old. I did not grow up in an environment where we openly shared anything, let alone something that seemed bad. Maybe not be bad, but seemed bad, right? Like project failure, missing a deadline, something like that. And it really started in October 24. Was laid off. Me and my entire team were laid off, and after about 2 weeks of feeling bad for myself, I tell the story all the time. Feeling bad for myself. I just came to LinkedIn, of course, to try to find a new role, right? And I didn't really understand how LinkedIn worked. I'm not a social media person by any stretch of the imagination. And I just started writing, and in about 30 days, yeah, probably about 30 days, I started to, just put some kind of how I felt out there, right? And very quickly, a lot of people started contacting me. I had a lot of coffee conversations, some one-on-ones with a lot of people, and really started to understand that I wasn't alone. Regardless of what country I was in or what industry I was in or how long I've been doing this, most PMs have either felt it, to a small degree, or many to a large degree, that again, with PMI and all the great certifications and the process, and we pretty much have everything we need. I can't imagine anything more spectacular coming down the pipe for project managers. We have everything we need. AI, of course, is going to elevate that, and really allow us to do a lot more of the people side of the role as opposed to the task manager stuff. But again, why are so many people stressed out? I read data that 50% of PMs are burnt out, up to 33% are considering leaving the industry. So if you kind of read all these great numbers about, we're expected to have 40 more million project managers by 2030, and things are great, but on the other side, everyone I talked to stressed out, lost their job, losing their job, considering switching the profession. What's missing? Something's not connecting the dots, right? So again, I just continue to have many more conversations with folks, and what I really came to believe is that at the end of the day, again, you could have the best plan, the best stakeholders, all that other good stuff, but really, people lead projects and people deliver projects. So let's take a look at some of that stuff. So what of course is the best thing to kind of put my best foot out there, is kind of showing people, hey, I've also failed. I've had projects not succeed. I've had stakeholders leave. I've been laid off. I've had projects that not have gone well, and I know others have too. So just doing a little bit of that, kind of testing the waters, I realized that those are the kind of posts and content that people liked. And I try not to do too many personal stories all the time, because again, you can only have so many stories, right? But more recently, in the last 6 months or so, I really try to just speak to folks like yourself and many other project managers, or people within the project manager sphere, and really try to understand their stories and kind of their struggles, and where they're coming from. And then through there, I ordinarily come up with either, a shared story with them, or some kind of recognition of what we're facing as an industry, and really trying to change the conversation. Because again, with AI here, depending on the data source you look at, it could take up to 80% of our job. Of course, there's a million variables in there. But if that is true, which I could see it happening in many industries and regions, what's left? What do you do with the other 80% of your day, your time, your month, your week, right? To me, that's an opportunity. Now I could talk to my stakeholders more. I could talk to my sponsor more. I could talk to, maybe I'm picking up another project in 3 months. Now I could talk to those people, start building the relationships a lot sooner than I ordinarily would. Now I could take a deep breath once in a while, and really kind of, again, make sure that my team is good. Because if they're not good, well, I'm not good, right? We're not going to be delivering any good projects, right? And just kind of taken all of this in the last 16 or 17 months, it just is turned into numerous stories or pieces of advice or feedback or things I'm seeing or things other people are seeing, really with the intent of helping the current and the future generations of project managers behind me. I've always been, a giver. I try to give back as much as I can. And in the last role or two that I had, I wasn't able to give back as much as I ordinarily would. So kind of taking all the things I just said and this opportunity to use social media to get to a larger group of people and really truly build a community where we all have the same voice, the same, experience, whether that's the actual truth or not. And we're really just kind of coming together in this little place called LinkedIn, and really just trying to help each other out, pass information, share information, support people, let them know that you have people here. Maybe you're in a particular industry or a country, or it's regulated or not, whatever the case may be, there's people out there that have been through that experience or are going through it now. And just kind of taking all that stuff. And each day when I make a new post, I usually, on the Sunday, kind of work up my post for the week, but I just kind of keep all that stuff in consideration, and really just try, when I put a post out, how many people can I try to affect positively from this. Not that I'm a master of anything, I am not. But at least with my own experience, plus all the conversations I'm having with people with decades of experience as well, and really trying to use it as a platform to help other project managers or those considering the industry.
Yeah, Dan, I have to confess that some of your posts really help me at a personal level. So from time to time, I go in LinkedIn and I'm just see what's going on, and I see your posts, and okay, I see one of your posts and I say, okay, this is exactly what I needed today. So I have to
I love that.
I have
That's
to
what I
thank
love
you very
about
much.
LinkedIn. When I see other people's posts, there's just so many people on LinkedIn, especially in our bubble, that are just saying and doing good things. It's just so great to see that. We have our behemoths, PMI, and a few different organizations, but it's nice to see the community itself
Yep.
talking, not just through the organization. So again, very much so what you just said, Juan. I love when I see, I'm like, oh man, that I understand that post, or I got that, or I never thought of it that way, or I've never tried something like that. It's just amazing that, again, you get to, it's like having a million years of experience in one little place. And again, everyone is so nice. Well, not everyone, but most people are pretty good about it. And you reach out to the PMs on here doing the same thing, and they are so helpful and excited to help. And it's just, I can't, I've been involved in a lot of charities and a lot of things like that. I've never met a community that's wanted to
Hmm.
help themselves and those around the globe, as well as the people coming behind them, as much as I have on LinkedIn in the last year in the PM community.
Yeah. I have a couple of comments here. Daniel, hi, Juan, and Daniel. Thank you for sharing such an honest perspective. I completely agree. While frameworks provide the shiny path, there are some real life lessons that we have to learn. And Eugene, such a great perspectives, and thanks for sharing so openly. Okay, guys. So as this is a community, and if you want to be part of the conversation, just let me know. Just give me DM me via LinkedIn, and I can share the link with you if you agree, Daniel. If there, this is an open conversation. If there are someone interested in joining the conversation,
Oh,
uh,
absolutely, absolutely. The
yes,
more the merrier. The more the
yeah,
merrier.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah,
Us now, afterwards. I know Juan probably saying that. I love conversations. I love people
yeah.
reaching out to me. I'm sure Juan is the same way. And certainly, if you have any questions, comments, jump in. The more the
Jump
merrier.
in. Yeah, 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 jump in definitely. If please, if you want to join this conversation, and if you have no problem showing your face on camera, just DM me, and I will send you the link, and we can, yeah, you can bring you on board. Okay, so Kevin is
Love it.
saying hello, Hanadel, thanks for sharing this. You're you're really welcome to come. Anyone who's seeing this, so come on, DM me via LinkedIn, and I will send you the link. Okay, let's move forward. There's this analogy that I like, that I personally love from my own personal and professional experience. I would say that project management is like having a kid. You,
Yeah.
yeah, you read all
Yeah.
you read all the books, you have all the videos, you have all the information, you have all the lessons learned from, your parents, your grandparents, or whatever. Your first kid arrives, and to you have to switch, right? You have to really know how to put all the ingredients to become a father, right? And
Yeah.
then you successfully have your kid. Your kid is okay, everything goes well, and then let's say your second kid comes.
Yeah.
Man, you have to put there's not enough experience, there's not enough knowledge, there's not enough text to teach you how to become father for the first time, for the second time, or
Yeah.
for the third time. So as you mentioned, PM, the project management profession is not an exact science. uh, and this question, perhaps you mentioned it before, but how do you bridge that gap between project to project to project? I mean, um, from your own perspective, what is the common line or that toolkit that keeps you on track when you transition from one project to the other? I mean, is there
Uh,
any kind of
that's
toolkit?
a great question. That's a great question, and I couldn't agree more. For those who are parents that are watching, it is a great analogy. And even when I post on LinkedIn, so I get a lot of comments and feedback like that, kind of comparing the two, right? Because again, as an example, like you even mentioned, you had your first kid, you can read all the books, but a lot of that goes out the window. But now you have a second kid, and now you have to figure out how to raise both. They're different ages, different times. You're at a different place in your life. Your spouse is at a different place, different jobs. There's so many variables that are always shifting, and it's just the same thing in project work, right? So for me in a project, the one thing that, and I stress this a lot, especially as I try to hit the human-centered side of project management so much, relationships. That's how I ordinarily achieve much success, not all the time, but much success throughout the entirety of the project. For me, it's about underpinning the human side of project management all the time. Yes, sites have Jira and all the different tools and the process and the frameworks and change and risk management. Of course, we have to have that. Those are the foundation to project success, right? But on top of that, you have to be able to deal with the people. So again, for me, as an example, if I have a project or I don't have a project, I'm maybe just starting a new company. The first thing I ordinarily do is I hit the ground running. I don't even try to figure that stuff out. I try to figure out who are the people that are going to be directly and indirectly responsible or engaged in my project, right? And start building relationships with those people if I don't have them. If I have a team, ordinarily, as we know, PMs don't have a team that reports to them directly most of the time. I've had a few, but they're cross-functional teams. They belong to other managers or other leaders, right? So again, lots of times I'll start creating relationships with those folks. If it's, a company I've been at a while and I know most of the people and I know the sponsors most of the time, again, same thing. I try to not only, I see a lot of PMs trying to, they do a great job building the relationship, but they don't maintain the relationship. That is critical. I don't care if you haven't talked to someone in 5 years, at your company, I still try to make sure that at the end of the day, I am always, trying to let people know I'm here. I'm a partner. Hey, I might not be working on a project with you right now, but how's your wife doing? How's your kids doing? Oh, remember they're graduating college. Like, it's just some simple little things that go a long way to let people know that you're listening to them. Because really, at the end of the day, for me, if I'm going to put one or two skills together that really makes you a great project leader, not just a project manager, but a project leader, is listening, right? And again, listening and actively using empathy to really get what you need, but also help the other people. Most people, as an example, a project sponsor, right? Of course, they have their own role. They're usually an executive, not all the time. They have their own things going on. Lots of times, this is maybe 1% of what they're doing, and they're not completely focused on the project in most instances, anyway. They might have their own stressors, their own press. Maybe they're worrying about losing their job, right? So just having little conversations with that and really paying attention to what they're saying, because at the end of the day, everyone has wants and needs, whether professionally or personally, and just really keeping an open ear or even paying attention to what they're saying, with your eyes when you're having conversations with people, even if it's remotely. It's just a really great way to let people know that you just want to partner with them. You want to do the right thing for the right reason. And we're all in this together. Ordinarily, if you just take those basics, obviously it takes a while and it takes experience, but if you kind of put those basics together, most of the time, not all the time, but I'd say 95% of the time that I apply those things, whether it's new company, old company, client, internal work, regardless of what it is, things go well. And if they don't at some point, which most projects, scope creep, something happens along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I've done the legwork. I've built the relationships. I've maintained them. I've checked in. I've had the lunches. I've had the dinners. I've done all the things possible so that if I do need to escalate or there's a trouble between two teams that I'm trying to get to do some work on, that I've done the legwork. I've worked with the managers. I've worked with them where I've built enough good relationships and enough, good trust with these people that it's very easy to come to a good conclusion with the direction of the project moving forward, right? Again, not everyone deals like that. Not every person that you deal with is going to be amenable to those type of things. But again, to me, I try to spend the most time on projects in the, if we're looking at the 5 phases of a project, the first, especially initiation, but also planning. I try to do my most work there because I've come to find in 20 plus years that if you do a good job there, 9 times out of 10, you don't have many troubles. And if you do throughout the entirety of the project, it's a lot easier to come to an agreement, to a conclusion, to an escalation, whatever the case may be. If you've done that legwork and you're not coming at someone for the first time. So again, if I could stress anything, make sure you're being empathetic, you're building trust, and there's millions of ways to do that very quickly as well as over a period of time. And really make sure that you're listening to people, because people are always trying to tell you what they want or need from you. You just have to be listening, because most of the time, the answer to your problem isn't what they're saying. They just might not be saying it directly to you. And of course, a lot of that comes with experience, to really learn how to listen to people and really try to develop your own self-awareness. If you could really understand your own self-awareness and who you are and why you react to this kind of person as opposed to, a little different than, if you could kind of master that. And again, it doesn't come easy. And for many, it's not something we learned growing up, especially as older folks. So if you could kind of master all of those things, you are on your way to really developing your project leadership acumen. Of course, you need to know the actual business acumen and, speak to the stakeholders and speak to the executives.
Tragedy.
Again, the projects, the project basics, right? Of course, we all need to know that. But again, even on LinkedIn, that stuff's easier. It's identifiable, it's trackable. We can put OKRs and KPIs to that. This other stuff I'm talking about is a little bit more difficult. It's harder to track. It's not easy to say, okay, how much percent does Juan trust Daniel? That's not easy to figure out, right? So again, you have to kind of always, even in the last like 7 or 8 years, I've even built that kind of stuff into my reporting or my status, not for everyone, but for certain people, and even for my own self, just kind of monitoring the team, monitoring their trust, monitoring how the team feels about the safety. Can they bring questions to me? Can they tell me something's wrong? Can they raise their hand and say, man, you're messing up. We got to do something different. Can they do that? And a lot of times I do kind of track that stuff. It could be, with different tools. It could be a survey. It could be a one-on-one. With AI, we could do sentiment analysis and all kinds of really things. So again, going back to AI, like I really see it as an opportunity for the PMs that have been either stuck in the task manager role or really haven't, have the experience to develop the project leadership part of our role. AI is really just an opportunity for us to now kind of push all that stuff to the side and leverage that and really, really, truly develop our project leadership skills, which is, good for all of us, right? Good for promotions. It, makes our industry look good for raises, and good for the company, of course, because when you have real project leaders, not just people pushing papers around and planning meetings, the outcomes could be tremendous. The value that our industry could create for the clients and customers and businesses we work for. Oh man, I don't think it's been fully unlocked yet at many companies. Yeah. And one of the other things I'm trying to do on LinkedIn and to all the executives that I talk to is really trying to let them know, because there are also many of them are in that mindset of a PM does task management, or they check boxes, or they do meetings, right? And I'm really lately trying to have a lot of conversations with them to really change their perspective, because if they understand the value we bring and what we actually could do, and we put those two things together, oh man, the things that we could accomplish together.
Yeah, sure, definitely. And you mentioned a couple of things, and definitely one of the things that while I was starting, finding my own path in project management, I was thinking, okay, I need to achieve certain certifications, certain skills, certain everything. And when that kind of thing happens, and you see that semi-god with the super project manager, I noticed that they are so, let's say something that you mentioned, they're kind of vulnerable. They're open to make mistakes themselves. Yeah. And I said to myself, okay, this is a huge takeaway. I mean, if I want to make my team feel comfortable, feel safe, as you mentioned, I need to be vulnerable myself. So, but that this comes with a trade-off, right? I mean, you can't be so vulnerable that you can, because you may look weak or incapable of doing things, but you have to be vulnerable enough or open enough to, make this distance to power as short as possible, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Again, absolutely. And you mentioned something that 9 out of 10 times communication, empathy works. Can you share the 1% that the 10%, that one opportunity out of 10 that went well?
Yeah, and I've had, I've managed at this point over 1,600 projects in my career, many of them small. So I know that number is very large, but a lot of them were, very small, 3-5 days projects, something like that. But, when you're especially talking about a project that's like a, 2-3 year project, a total transformation, a 5-year project program, again, every person, depending on the industry you're on, what type of clients, if it's internal, there's so many different variables on a project, the size of the company, the size of the teams, especially at a larger company, there's a million competing priorities. A sales team wants to sell stuff. Operations team wants to support. Maybe there's also an operations team to support the clients. Maybe there's a customer service team. Maybe there's so many different teams, and each one has its own priorities, right? And that's kind of where I find the most, because, I want to get the finance team to be on board. I want the procurement team and the sales team and the leadership team and an IT team and all these different teams. Or us as PMs or project leaders, we have to get these people, at the very least, maybe not agree on everything, but to at least do their part in a way that doesn't become a disruptive thing within our environment. And you'll come to find out lots of different teams for different reasons, the politics, the culture, whatever the case may be. they just don't like each other, right? I don't know why. Like
We're human beings, right? We're
finance
human
seems
beings.
to have, at least among the finance teams have a lot of problems with a lot. This we're trying to make sure we're spending the right money. We're not, abusing money. We're doing the right thing for ourselves, for a company, right? And I get that, but and again, there's people trying to get promoted, trying to look good. There's so many different variables when you're dealing with human beings that you're never going to get people to always agree or always do the right thing. So again, by doing a lot of that legwork I mentioned, most of the time, like it's about 90-95% of the time, people are amenable or they're willing to work with you. Trade-offs, there's a many different ways to do it, but there are people that they're just not going to help, or they're not going to,
Yeah.
or they could become a blocker. Not only they're not going to help, they're going to make sure that you don't get what you want, right? Whether it be their team or their resources, their money or their budget, whatever the case may be. So in that particular instance, there's, if you've done the legwork, you've probably built a decent relationship. So for me, ordinarily, leveraging that, if I can't get the person to kind of get on board with what we're trying to do, even though it's in the best interest of the company or the client, not me or them personally, I try to leverage my other relationships. Maybe the procurement lead or the CEO or CIO or some other person has a good relationship with this person. So maybe I'll go to them first. I ordinarily try not to escalate anything ever unless it is mandatory, because that, of course, most of the time leads to some other kind of problem, usually political. But, if you've done the legwork in the beginning, especially you've built out a good escalation plan who's supposed to do what, when that's supposed to happen. If you've done all that stuff and still things blow up in your face, again, I try to leverage my other relationship with those other people and really try to, get them to help me figure out a way. If I have a manager or line manager, I might work with them, but really try to put as quick as possible, the best united front possible, so I could come to that person. And really try to get them to let them know. It might be, hey, we might have to extend the project out because they actually need the IT team for May or June. So we have to put the project off, but as long as we do that, they'll be okay. So again, having that one-on-one conversation with them is critical, because you want to make sure, again, you're listening and hearing and seeing what they're saying and how they're saying it to you. And then from there, you can usually, kind of get all your ammunition you need to either develop another conversation with them, speak to your manager, escalate if needed. But again, most of the time, even, especially with people that are pushing back, being blockers, potentially causing you a challenge, they're telling you why that's happening. You just have to be open to listening to why they're saying it. Sometimes it could be a personal thing. Sometimes it could have nothing to do with you or the project. I bring this up. It sounds so simple, but I had a team member one time. They were on my team. They were actually on the project, the IT team. They were one of the people on my team for a project I was working on. Their dog died. And this was a rock star network engineer. They were the best of the best that I've ever worked with until that point. And ordinarily, when I give this person something, it's done before I even ask. Like that. For like 2-3 weeks, this person, they just weren't showing up. They weren't responding to emails. And I was kind of like, what's going on? You're my rock star. Like, what, what's going on? Right. And I sent her a few emails, a few Teams messages, and things just weren't going good. So I actually just had to have a one-on-one conversation. I was like, what's going on? And again, at this point, I'd known her probably like 5 or 6 years. So we had a pretty decent relationship. We had gone to lunch a few times with myself and her and the team. And I found out that her dog had died. Now, a lot of people might think that is insignificant, simple, dumb. Like I've heard people say all kinds of things, but to her, it was really important. This was like her family. She didn't have a mom, she didn't have a dad. This was her family, and she was really upset about it. I know this, again, this is so simple and it feels like it has nothing to do with project management, but it was negatively affecting my project. So after speaking with her for probably about 1.5 hours, 2 hours, I come to find out through working with her, not saying, all right, I'm going to get someone else. I worked with her and said, what can we do? Do you need some time off? Do you want me to speak to your boss? Have you had a conversation with your boss? And together we developed 2 options to bring to our boss. Hey, again, I kind of told him the situation. I told her, we could have someone. It wasn't that we needed her particular for this project. We could use someone a little bit less junior. So we went to, hey, we had another project team that was free right now. They were on the bench, and we also had someone else on the team. And the 2 of us went to their boss, and it actually wound up working good. And I was able to leverage my relationship with her boss, as well as make her feel good and let her know, hey, I'm not, I just want to make sure you're okay, right? And just having an empathetic ear. I still talk to her today. It's been about 10 years, 12 years at this point. And we're good friends. And it all started with that conversation. And she told me, oddly enough, that it was the first time that she felt like anyone ever cared enough to listen to her. And she didn't want to bring this up because it's her dog. It has nothing to do with what we were doing. Yeah. And again, I think that was I kind of learned that a long way, but that was the first instance where I really truly understood the power of empathetic listening and what it could do, and how I could use it personally, to achieve the goals of the project, but also to build great relationships with teams and
Hmm.
don't negatively affect the politics or the upper echelon ring of what we were doing. And it came to a positive outlook. And in that hour and a half, 2 hours total time with talking to everyone, I learned probably more than I had in the last 10 years about leading
Oh
people.
man, oh man. I mean, yeah, really, really interesting situation. Perhaps you have listened this author, singer, piano player called Fiona Apple.
Oh, of course, of course.
Yeah, she was. I'm a huge fan of her. She canceled her Latin America tour because her dog has died.
Yeah, I remember saying that. I remember saying that.
Yeah.
I remember saying that.
So yeah, it was really, really interesting. I mean, that a dog is a family. Your pet is a family, and in the case of the person that you're talking about, and regarding Fiona Apple, it's exactly the same situation, man. I mean, perhaps I thought that you were the project manager of her tour, of Fiona's Apple tour.
Yeah. But that really just goes to show you at the end of the day, and it reconfirms people are people. We all have feelings. We all have personal and professional things going on. We all have wants and needs and hopes and values. We all have that. And as a project manager, you have to get 50 or 100 or 500 or 1,000 people like that all with these to work together. And it's not easy, which is why the burnout rate's so
Yeah.
high. So many people are considering leaving. But to me, regardless of all that, it's still the most fulfilling thing. I recommend it to everyone I talk to. I love project management. I could never, ever, ever imagine myself doing anything, which is kind of why, and even with that story, want to share my experiences with people because I know how valuable it could be. I really see AI kind of helping our industry or profession really kind of going to the next level because it's going to eliminate a lot of that admin type work, and really show people who we are, what we could do, and the value we could bring, especially as things get better and faster. And a third of the projects, the work in the world the next few years is going to be projectized. This is our opportunity to shine. AI is just a kind of a great way to kind of pass off some of that other work, but this is I feel like 2026, 2027, 28 is our opportunity as a profession to really shine and show the world what we can do. Although we've been doing it silently and as groups and communities with PMI and a lot of different things, we've all been doing it. But I feel like now the world is starting to see the real true value of what project leadership and project management could do for them.
Yeah, 100%. I agree 100%. And um, on an additional note, I would like to share this personal experience during a project. Right, I was having this toxic environment with this IT manager. I mean, toxic
Always the
situation.
IT manager, right? It's always the
Yeah.
IT manager.
Well, and it happened to be that he wasn't really kind of. She couldn't handle her emotions, right? And I was saying, but what's going on? I mean, I couldn't understand. I mean, it was really, really tough for me to go beyond that wall of the
Yeah.
yeah of the yeah of the certification and the titles and the big office and everything. I couldn't get through that wall, and I said, what's going on? After and people who work for her were kind of coming and going all the time. People she had this we had this coworker who last worked for I don't know 4 days with her. He couldn't stand her. He
Oh
was just
wow.
was crazy, and I was trying to figure out what was going on. And it happened to be that she suffered from diabetes,
Oh wow.
man. And people with diabetes have this uh, ups and downs regarding her emotional regulation. and
Yeah.
and we were under her command, so to speak. We were the ones who were, yeah, the team was receiving her bad emotions, her bad feelings, her bad vibrations. So it was really hard. It was really hard, and have to overcome the situation from different with different people, talking with different people. What can I do? And definitely that's something that really helps you grow as a person, and as a professional, when
Oh
facing
yeah.
this kind of challenges. Yeah, so my own personal experience, diabetes. Your experience, that dog. I mean, this is something that really impacts projects, impacts
Yeah, again,
operations, and
it's not something you would expect to see on a
no,
project or Gantt chart or addressed in some status meeting or governance or steer call. But those are the things that affect people. And
yep,
you got to still do your thing. And you have to figure out a way how to deal with every person, whether it's even escalating above them. You still have to figure out how to deal and lead with people to deliver your project because that's your job.
yeah, 100%. You mentioned something regarding how when you build a relation, you said, okay, you have to look at his or her face when talking to your team. Right now, we're facing this challenge on which all we work remotely.
Yeah.
There are people from India, uh, in my case, Canada, Argentina, Brazil. Um, a long time ago, I worked with this team from Ukraine, and it's really interesting how this when time changes and technology changes and priority changes, how the projects change and the communication style
Mhm.
change with people you haven't seen his or her face never. I work with people uh, that the only time I saw his or her face was the last day they were on the project when they were saying goodbye. Um, and it's really interesting because not only the remote environment impacts, but religion impacts.
Yeah.
Have you uh,
Holidays, religion. Yeah. So
holidays,
things. Yep.
religion, personal beliefs?
Yeah.
For me, having this conversation with someone and says, "Okay, okay, Daniel, I owe you a beer because you made a great work. Thank you very much for your kindness." But there are people who may feel offended if I offer him or her a beer. I mean, and that
Yeah.
kind of things really impacts you as a person, and that's a personal scar. That was a personal setback because from that point onwards, uh, telling this girl, "I owe you a beer," it was like, you know what I mean. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
the right.
I made that same exact mistake when I first started working internationally.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't understand anything. I didn't understand religion, customs. I didn't understand any of that stuff, and it's made more difficult with 2026. We're all mostly remote now. It's not
yeah,
an easy environment for PMs to work in.
yeah. Sure, definitely. So that was my personal experience. I will be extremely careful
Oh yeah,
who I will invite a beer, a virtual beer to
yeah,
girls, some other location, some other religion, some other culture, some other
yeah,
tradition. So it was a huge mistake from my side. But uh, anyway, we're showing scars, right? I
yeah.
mean, the name of this conversation is showing scars. So any scars that you want to share regarding remote
That's a good
work? I mean,
question. I have so many scars I can't take my shirt off. uh,
please
No,
don't.
that's a good question, right? And again, obviously, the longer you've been doing this, and just like with any profession, it's not just for
Yeah,
project
sure.
managers, but project managers again, it's one of maybe a handful of roles where we have to do so much without the hierarchy, without people working directly for us. We can't hire them in most instances. We can't fire them. We can't give them raises. Yes, we can maybe contribute to some of that stuff, but still have to do all this stuff without having anyone working directly for us, and it's not easy. So, and then you add the remote component of that, you just amplify that by 100. So yeah, no, of course, scars. Some of my worst ones are in the beginning. I try to now when I talk about my career, I kind of cut it in half. The first 10 years, I had no idea what I was doing. I was getting stuff done. I was delivering great projects, but I consider that my learning curve. And then the next 10 years, I kind of went to my mentoring curve where I try to help people avoid a lot of that stuff. Right. And so, yeah, one of the big scars that I had was it was almost similar to what you were saying, but it was in a physical way. Right. One of my first projects ever, I kind of just got the PM title. I was working in like a WeWork environment where there's a lot of different companies in a building, and
Yep,
my company
a
managed
co-working
all the
space.
projects
Yeah.
and the internet for the company, for the building, not the individual clients. But the individual clients did get services from us. So I went to work with, I guess, it was like installing a network. It was very small. It was like a VPN in a network with this little tiny company, maybe like 3 or 4 people, and I walked in there and it was almost very similar where they were off on a religious holiday and it wasn't a holiday that I celebrated or no one told me about it. And I was very green behind the ears. And I walked in and, the door was locked and we were scheduled and it was on a Saturday and it was not a good environment. And we're supposed to get this done. And all I was doing is getting yelled at from my boss because we need to close this thing because it was going to turn into other work. And I started sending really not great emails to some of these people. And I ultimately wound up getting really, really screamed at from my boss. And it was the first time I actually come to understand, again, not just the project itself, but almost similar to what you said, Juan, about something like as simple as religion and not understanding other people, or at the very least, not trying to understand other people.
Yeah.
That was my mistake. Not trying to understand that. I didn't try to. That I was so, and I kind of blame this on, I was a network engineer 8 years, the 8 years previous to that. So I was not used to dealing with people well. I was always in the server room. I was always putting the cables together. I wasn't really ever dealing with people. So that's why I say that first 10 years, it was such a big deal for me to really understand and learn how people work, and more importantly, learn how I work. As this happens, not only do we gain experience, we get older. Our stress levels get higher. We have personal things. We have families usually at that point. And there's just so many things going on that you bring to work with you. But kind of to bring it, even more recent, I was working right before I left the last company I was working for. We're working on a massive project, and the intent of this project was to reduce the IT spend by $1.2 billion. It was in the best interest of our company to do this because our two major competitors were about half of our IT spend combined, right?
Oh,
and
man.
the entire time, the company was working against us every turn, because it wasn't just one company. I worked at the headquarters company, and we owned about 3,000 companies underneath. So because I worked at the top, and it was a holding company before, it wasn't a corporate structure. So they all did their own thing. They had their own IT teams. That everything was different. So every time we found an opportunity to reduce our costs, or to maybe move the service to the cloud, or whatever the case may be, I got pushed back, and it was not an easy environment to deal with. Even when I escalated, I got yelled at because I'm trying to save the company money, and then I would go to report to the actual CEO and board. We're on the stock market. I have to give them reports all the time. We get yelled at. Why aren't you doing this? And I can't say because your 3,000 CEOs aren't doing what I am asking. You're the CEO. Tell them what to do.
Yeah.
The challenge was that we owned not 100% of all these companies. Some was 10, some was 50, some was 100, some was 5. Like, it was all over the place. So it was probably the best project. It was really a program of 1,186 projects.
Mhm.
But it was the first time, well, not the first, but it was probably the time where I was leaving work the worst. I was most stressed out. I was losing my mind. My team was quit. Like, it was insane. Like, it was a very negative experience, but ultimately turned very positive. And then my team got laid off. So it wasn't that positive, but the environment was very positive. So I spent the next 2 years trying to figure out how to work with all those people. So ultimately, we kind of speaking to a bunch of different people and getting their feedback. We helped to align a certain new position that's kind of right in the middle, business partner. So they're kind of in the business, but they're kind of with the headquarters company. And by working with these strategic people now, where they had the interest of the company in mind, but the other company, not the main headquarters company, and we had the interest of the main company. So by building great relationships with those people and really working with them to understand what the hell's going on in their business and why they're saying no to me, right? So it took about 2 years, but ultimately delivering about $600 million in savings before the team was let go, because we got some new leadership. But it was a trial and error of thousands of different things that me and my team tried to do to really try to work with these people. Again, involved remote, it involved holidays, it involved religious stuff. It involved different time zones, 24/7, because it was we had stuff in 140 something countries. It was a crazy environment, and I got to the point where I was going to leave. I was going to leave project manager. I was walking out. I had enough.
Yeah,
It
sure.
wasn't until my manager was great, one of probably the best manager I ever worked with, not probably the best manager I ever worked with. She was amazing, and she kind of helped me through it. We worked on some stuff. We grew our team a little bit, and really it took the collective effort of our team to really try to understand and leverage emotional intelligence on a level that I've never read about, I've never learned about. I've taken a million classes, I've read every book, I've watched every video. I was really had to understand how to make about 3,000 different people on a weekly basis do what I did them to do while also accomplishing their own personal and professional goals. Eventually we got there. It wasn't easy at the end. Still, even before we left, we did a great job, saved all this money, but still, and at the same time, throw in that every day the stakeholders were changing. They were being bought and sold and
Yeah.
merged, and new leadership teams coming in. So it was like anything that you could imagine every day on
Happened.
every project. Nothing was ever the same. So it was quite challenging. Again, it almost led me to saying, once I got laid off, I need to do something different. I'm too old. I got my gray hair. Like I was, having arguments with my wife. I was bringing that stuff home, and it was just
Yes.
not a great environment. And I kind of consider my laying off in my team as a blessing, because one, it wasn't nice to not have a job, but it allowed me to really examine myself and kind of see what I want to do with myself. And if possible, how can I help others, kind of get along and really try to alleviate, at least, with my friends around me. Then I found LinkedIn. So then it got to be much bigger, but it was probably, and it was right around the exact day I turned 50 almost. All this happened right at the same time. So I had a lot of life things going on, trying to figure out what my next steps were. And it really brought me to a place of a massive, for the first time ever in my life, I could say at the age of 50, I truly understood why I do things, who I am. My self-awareness was finally, I don't think it'll ever be 100%, but it was about 80%. For the first time, I could actually look in the mirror and go, I know this guy looking back. I mean, I understand
Yeah.
I understand what makes him tick, what he likes, what he doesn't like, what kind of music he likes, what kind of food is it, like basic stuff all the way to how I interact with my teams. And then from that moment on, I then tried to pour that into my work and the PM playbook and LinkedIn and my jobs and my clients and things like that. And it's changed the way I feel about project manager, how I feel about myself and other people. And it seems to be having a positive effect on my life. I know my wife is happier because I'm not going crazy every day. And how it's helping me and other people. And that's really why I'm on such a mission to bring some of this stuff to other people, because I
Great.
was 50. I had no idea what I was going to do. Of course, I'd get another job, but is it really what I want to do? Do I want to stay being a project manager? Did that other project just tear me down too much? And I found, that I actually, it's in my DNA. I'll probably be a project
Yeah.
manager till my last breath.
Yeah, definitely. This is something that perhaps we are kind of aware since we were teenagers. We like to build things. We like
No,
to
yeah.
get
We like to
things
build
done. I
things.
mean,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, ever since I remember, being a teenager, I loved to uh, dismantle my
Me
bike
too.
and
Me too.
improve it,
Me
and
too.
yeah, and do things and build stuff and do the house in the tree, build the house in the tree.
Yep.
That
Yep.
kind, build things, and once you build a thing, you're always thinking, what can I do next?
Exactly.
Yeah,
What can I do next? What can I improve on? Let's make a bigger
yeah,
house. Let's make a bike ramp. Yeah, it's crazy,
yeah,
man.
yeah. This is something that we love. Yeah, I would say that this is something that for me as a project manager, I would say that beyond, I mean, as a baseline of a project manager, or uh, yeah, this basic instinct of building things,
I
I would
couldn't
say
agree more.
this is something that we have all. Well, I would say not all, but the people that I know that is related to project management. So I'm going to
Yeah,
read some.
even if you're not building something like delivering a software package or a product, you're still building teams, building relationships, you're still building things. And it's the same thing as building a house. You have to do you have to start at the beginning and go like at the end of I couldn't agree more. And I feel like, because my parents have been in construction for almost 100 years. So it's in my blood already. But I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. I feel like people that I know, regardless of what profession you're in, if you're a builder or that's what you like to do, project manager is a great profession for you. Even
Yeah,
if it's not delivering an actual physical product, you're going to build a lot of different things, and just the building blocks. It's just a great path for people that are kind of built like that.
yeah, definitely. I'm going to read some of the comments here from the audience. Victoria, listening is powerful, but for a PM, there's something even harder: hearing what people don't say. Yeah, definitely. This
Oh
is
God,
something
yes.
that you mentioned. Thank you, Victoria, for
That's
your
what I was
comment.
talking about. Listening with your eyes, not just your ears, because you
Yes.
need to. And of course, that comes with experience. And I would highly recommend to everyone listening, get a mentor if you don't have one, because that will take that 10, 12 years you need to take usually, crush it down to maybe a one or two or three, depending on you and your environment and stuff like that. So yes, you have to be paying attention to what's not being said.
Yeah, definitely. Andrea said, "Thanks for opening this discussion. A question that I have: when there's a conflict, that it's something you both do to what could you do to ease that conflict? Let me check. Daniel, you answered this a bit by saying
Yeah, sure.
being empathetic. Listen to people, sentiment analysis with AI, which probably will prevent less conflict. But what about when it happens? Appreciate it. When what happens? What would you do when a real conflict appears, man?
Yeah. Welcome
I've
to
been,
project management. Everything's a conflict, even if it's
yeah,
not. But
yeah. So no,
if it
no, no.
really,
And on a personal note, I mean, I've been in projects where people are ready to to fight, or fist
oh yeah,
fight.
I've
Yeah,
actually seen fist fights. I've seen
yeah,
back in the day the big old monitors thrown at people's heads. What from the I worked at a lot of hedge funds in my earlier career. So when you're losing $1 billion in a day, things start getting thrown.
yeah,
I've seen physical confrontations. I've seen people fight. It's crazy. And again, with experience, you kind of figure out how to do all that stuff. But it kind of goes back to some of my original statements. If you done the legwork and built the relationships and really done a lot of that stuff I said earlier, if this does come to fruition, it's ordinarily a lot easier to deal with because again, most of the time it's not your conflict, it's two other people's conflict, or two other teams' conflict, or four other teams' conflict, or maybe it's a conflict with a supplier and a customer and a client in your team. It could be a million different configurations, right? But again, if you've done a lot of that work, it's a lot easier. But if not, at the end of the day, if it's internal, and we're all on the same team, same company, same client, same everything, at the end of the day, we got to deliver this for our company. It's our shared purpose to deliver this, right? And again, in a negotiation, try to make a win-win. A lot of times as a PM, that's not possible, because if I give you more time, that means I have to spend more money for this guy.
yeah,
Like it's not, we have a restriction, right? Like the triangle, it's there for a reason. Like if you mess with one of the other ones gets affected. So really trying to figure out the needs of people listening. Again, maybe one of the people complaining, maybe they're complaining just to be a jerk, because I've had a lot of those. Maybe they're
yeah,
complaining because they actually can't do it. Maybe they don't have the resources, but there's an opportunity. Maybe we get a third party contractor. Maybe we have one on speed dial already. Maybe we have a contract. Maybe we have someone on another team. It's not something we actually need, but we could get some young people that want to be on the IT team. There's so many different ways to do that, but really trying to get people to obviously come to a shared agreement that it's in. We're partnering together. It's in the shared interest of the company, not me, not you, not them. And we still have to deliver this no matter what. Now let's try to figure out a way to move forward. Do we need to do this, that, and the other thing? And collectively, we need to come to an agreement on how to move forward, even if I have to give you something later on. It's always trade-offs in project management, always trade-offs. If it's time, money, what quality, it doesn't matter what it is. You're always in a constant state of trade-offs. That's why I have a trade-off tracker. It literally, I'm trading, my favors and stuff like that all the time with people. But at the end of the day, everyone can't get everything at the same time. So you have to figure out a way to figure that out.
yeah. Sure. Additional comment from Dory Young: 100% building relationships early is key. Is key.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, Daniel, you have like 8 minutes left. So, final question: how do you deal with your own mental health when
Uh,
all
Good
those
question.
things
Good
happen?
question.
Yeah,
And again, for me lately, I've had a mentor and a coach for about 17, 18 years each, and I still have them today. One is a little bit different than the other one, but I've had one for a while, right? And while this was happening, while this job change thing was happening in October 24th, and I was trying to, again, figure out what's going on. And one of them recommended journaling. And again, I thought that's what children do. That's what my kid does. She writes in her diary every night, right? And I didn't really understood it. Although I read a million books and watched videos, and journaling is always mentioned and stuff, but I never really gave it a real good consideration. So for me, something I do every day, I don't care what day of the week it is, work, no work, client work, on vacation, whatever. I always wake up every day and I spend about 5 to 15 minutes kind of write down what I feel like today. How did I feel when I wake up? Am I tired? Do I have to make big decisions today? Is my kid, whatever it is, if it's work related, I do it no matter what, but sometimes I might do it for 5, 10 minutes at lunch, and always every day. At the end of the day, I kind of do the same thing. What decisions I made? What do I have to, this isn't to kind of track work. This is to track how you feel.
Yeah.
And I don't look at it. I continue to write it every Sunday. I look at it. Sometimes it might be a different day, but usually on a Sunday, I'll take a look at my week and just kind of see what was I feeling like. Maybe I don't even remember on Tuesday I felt sad or bad, or my wife called me with something that happened at home or something, or my kid, or I just kind of take an inventory of that stuff and really try to make sure that I talk to other people about it, again, through my mentor coach, through LinkedIn. Posting is a good way. My community is a good way. Again, just really trying to identify who you are, why you tick, why you do and say and act the way you do to you and other people, especially to your closest folks. And you got to find an outlet. Sports, football, fun,
Yep.
hiking, movies, go out with your spouse, go on whatever it is. Make sure you're always actively looking at yourself, finding an outlet, and talking about this. If you can't talk about it with your spouse, talk about it with a mentor. If you don't have a mentor yet, find one. If you can't find a mentor or you're nervous about that, reach out to me or Ron. We'll help you out. We'll get you in the right direction. But talking about it, understanding and really evaluating yourself, and finding an outlet, those three things collectively on a daily basis, even if it's a 2-minute bike ride with my daughter, that gets me out of my own head, reminds me why I'm on this planet, why I do what I do, especially when I look at my daughter's face every day. She's the reason for everything, as well as my other kids and my wife. But those are the things. And I lost that for a while, man. There was about a 7 or 8 year period where I kind of not forgot who I was, but I was in the grind. I was managing projects and kicking butt and taking names and, getting all the accolades and all that stuff was great. But along the way, I was burning out and I didn't even know it. So
Yes.
by doing the self-awareness stuff with the journaling and talking to other people, they're able to see what I don't see. They're able to say, dude, you don't look good. Have you been sleeping? Like, you're saying really crazy stuff. Like, you're not your usual self. Like, you can't, when you're dealing with yourself, it's hard to pick that stuff up, even when your
Yeah.
spouse sometimes. So it's always nice to have that other person, or even what you wrote a week ago or a month ago. That it's always nice to go back. What were your hopes and your goals and your dreams in end of 25? Are you achieving them? If not, figure out how to do it. All those things together for me have almost eliminated the burnout. Not all the time, because work is work, right? But I
Yeah.
found ways to deal with it better.
Yeah, definitely. Do remind me this saying with something like the eye can see outside, but the eye can see inside.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I'm gonna take that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, that, no,
Like,
it's not mine. It's not mine.
that's
I
a
don't
good one.
remember. I stole it from somewhere. I don't remember. Okay,
Like,
but definitely, you need to put some distance, right? Some healthy
yes,
distance
the healthy
between
distance.
yourself and the work, the issues, the setbacks, everything. That's really really a good
Yes.
advice for everyone. So we have this coming from Kenisa Jr. Spot on. While frameworks provide structure, leadership is what navigates the human complexity that manuals can't capture.
Oh, that was
And
good.
that's good, really good.
That's good. I like that.
Kevin, Juan, and Daniel, will this conversation be available to revisit in the future? Wonderful topic, exchange. Yeah, this conversation is going to be recorded here. It's being recorded in LinkedIn. So you may come if you want to be part of this conversation, of a new conversation. Just let me know, DM me, and we can talk whenever you want. So we have like 3 minutes left. So, guys, I think I read all the comments. Thank you very much for the people who are still
Yes.
seeing
Thank
this. We're having the time for watching us ranting about the craziness
you.
about project management. And yeah, I mean, yeah, once again, for the people who join late or something, or seeing this recording later, I would say that definitely these kind of conversations were more oriented to show scars, show the painful stuff the project management we experience as project managers. This is really, really healthy. I would say
Oh yeah.
this is some really nice place to to talk about things that. You really need to to get out of your system, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really good place, a good opportunity to do this kind of catharsis.
Absolutely. And again, this kind of covers all three things I just said. We're
Yeah.
talking to each other. We're releasing some pressure. We're having a little bit of fun.
Yep.
And I'm going to walk away. And I promise you, my day is 1,000 times better than it was before I got on it because of this conversation.
Yeah,
And I
sure,
made a new
definitely.
friend.
Yeah, and thank you very much. Thank you for the time and for the sharing all your experiences,
Of course.
and
Same.
and showing us that we as PM were not, the perfect
No,
human beings that have
never
answers
seen
for.
one.
No, no, no. Who has answered
No,
someone who has answers for everything. Yeah, we need to deal with pressure. That's our job. Deal with pressure, with uncertainty, with questions that we can't answer, but we need to find answers. And definitely, this is
yeah,
something that we agree. I would say that the other PMs that I know, we agree on this. And as a conclusion of this conversation, empathy, openness,
yes,
conversation, understanding, and being aware that we are humans and everyone around us and everyone involved in a team is human. So this is
that
a
was
really,
that was a great wrap up. Whoever's
yeah,
listening, that stuff is just as important as your risk log and your raid log and your change management stuff, your Gantt chart. That stuff is just as important or more in many instances.
okay, guys. So, Daniel, thank you very much. Let's talk again one of these days, right?
That's good, my
Whenever you
friend.
have the chance, if you think of something, some subject that you may want to talk about, definitely. Again, if someone
Fantastic.
wants to be part of these conversations, DM me. We can schedule some time and have this informal conversation, and that is really helpful for everyone around and the community. So,
I mean, my friend.
Daniel, see you when I see you. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Stopping the transmission.